The Indian rupee crossed the psychological threshold of 90 against the US dollar for the first time ever on December 3rd morning, marking a new historic low. But officials tell us not to worry. So, what does this mean? What are the implications of currency depreciation for the Indian economy and the common citizen? On December 3, 2025, the rupee touched an intraday low of 90.13 before settling near the 90 mark. This depreciation was largely driven by persistent outflows of foreign portfolio investments and uncertainties surrounding the India-US trade relations. However, Chief Economics Advisor V. Ananda Nageshwaran says that the center is not losing sleep over the falling rupee as it is not hurting inflation or exports. Now let's talk about its impact. Rising inflation and the cost of living. The most immediate impact of a weaker rupee is imported inflation. India imports over 85% of its crude oil requirement. When the rupee weakens, every dollar of oil imported costs more rupees. This directly increases the fuel prices, which then rolls over to higher transportation costs for vegetables, fruits, and everyday goods. RBI's wider estimate states that 5% of depreciation in the rupee can push inflation up by 30 to 35 basis points. Now let's look at the impact on education and travel. For Indian families with children studying abroad, this is a direct financial hit. Tuition fees and living expenses denominated in dollars will now require more rupees. Let's compare when rupee was 83 to the dollar versus now at 90 to the dollar. For example, a semester fee of $20,000 would have earlier cost rupees 16.5 lakh. Now it costs 18 lakh rupees at 90 to the dollar, and that's an increase of rupees 1.5 lakh per semester. International travel also becomes significantly more expensive given the forex rates when you have to buy the dollar. Now, the export dilemma. Theoretically, a weaker currency benefits exporters like IT and textiles because their earnings in dollars translate to more rupees. Former Niti Aayog Vice Chairman Rajiv Kumar argued that this depreciation could encourage labor-intensive exports and job creation. However, recent studies caution that this benefit isn't automatic. Since India also imports many raw materials like electronic components and gems, the higher cost of these inputs can offset the gains from exports. And global demand slowdowns can dampen export volumes regardless of currency competitiveness. Then there is the fiscal deficit and the corporate debt. A weaker rupee widens the current account deficit because the import bill for oil, gold, electronics and things like that simply increase in rupee terms. Indian companies that have borrowed money in dollars will now have to face increased debt servicing costs. They will need to shell out more rupees to repay the same dollar amount, potentially straining their balance sheet and reducing profitability.